Are my grades too low? What is the average GPA for college? How do students know where they should be looking and what schools might be a good fit for them based on what their GPA is? This is something that is asked frequently as we look at a college list for students, and it's something that I want to make sure that you feel encouraged with, not discouraged or not disappointed about what your GPA looks like and where you're going to be going to school or what schools you are going to have on your list to apply to. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Courtney and I am the founder of Confused to College Ready. I am super excited to spend time with you. We have been working on the podcast. It is getting close to the year mark. So this launched in November of 2021, and I actually have been having close to weekly podcasts for much of the time. I am looking forward to the year mark, but we also have almost 1,200 downloads on the podcast. And that is all thanks to you as you have been listening and sharing, and I greatly appreciate it. So thank you for that. If you have any suggestions or ideas of what we should do for that 1 year celebration that's coming in November, please let me know. We did recently close the doors to our coaching program for Confused to College Ready, our course and coaching program. And but that does not mean that there is not a way for you to work with me. I would be happy to have conversations, to be able to answer your questions. You also can find our free guide on how to start or expand your college search. If you go to confusedtoready.com/how to start, you can download that free guide to know what your steps are going to be. And then you also are going to be able to look at, then you'll be on our email list so that you can get updates about different things that are happening. So let's go ahead and dive in. So GPA, there are a couple of different factors. The first thing that I want to talk to you about is weighted versus unweighted GPA. And some of this is going to be determined by your state. Some of this is going to be determined by your school. Some states have a specific plan that you will follow as far as GPA. Some have, if your state doesn't have a plan, it might be more school-based, but there are, there are different ways that you can figure out what that GPA is. So some GPAs are weighted, which means that if you have a 92 in a college prep level class, so that might be, and what I'm going to talk about right now is what's in South Carolina because that's where I live. That's the GPA scale and system that I know the best, but it might depend on your state what that scale looks like. So GPA is weighted in South Carolina, a 92 in a college prep level, which is going to be your basic level class. That is going to be a 4.2 towards GPA. With that being said, if a student has an 87 in an honors level class, that would be a B, but the GPA for that would also be a 4.2 because it is, because that's an honors level class. So it has some additional weighting to it because of the rigor and the work that students are doing in that class. Then you have AP weighting. And again, this is specific to South Carolina, so if you are in a different state, make sure that you're looking at what that GPA is. So an AP weighted class, if you had a 92 in it, the GPA is actually going to be a 5.2. So the GPA goes above a 4.0, and it really just depends on the level or rigor of classes that students are taking in addition to what their grades are in those courses. And then there's unweighted GPA. So unweighted is if you have an A, it's a 4.0. If you have a B, it's a 3.0. A C is a 2.0, and then a D would be a 1.0. So there's not different numbers based on whether you have a 90 or a 95 or a 75 in your class. That would be, it solely is that A is a 4.0, B is a 3.0, C is a 2.0. So with a unweighted GPA, you would be looking at the highest GPA that you can have is a 4.0. So when you look at school websites, and again, I'm going to talk about South Carolina because that's where I live, and that just as an example. But when you are looking in, when you're looking at college websites and looking at GPA, it's helpful to find out what is the school looking at. Are they looking at weighted GPA? Are they looking at unweighted GPA? Or are they going to end up taking calculating your GPA on their own? Maybe they're going to look at only your core courses, or your core courses and your world language credits, or credits that are specific to the major that you're interested in. So some of that's going to depend on the school. So it's important to know, as you look at GPA, what is it that they are looking for. In South Carolina, the colleges are going to be looking for weighted GPA based on that South Carolina grading scale. If you are out of state and looking at a specific school, like I said, it's really important to know what are the colleges looking at for that particular GPA. And it actually is also the same thing for scholarships. So I would say assume that you're going to use that weighted GPA unless for some reason you see that there's something different, okay? So the first thing is know the difference between weighted and unweighted GPA. The second thing is be aware of what your college is looking for. Now, let's say that your GPA, you're an AB student, and your weighted and unweighted GPA is not necessarily within that average range for a particular school. Does that mean that you are never going to be able to be successful, that you're never going to be able to do what you want to do or have the education that you want to get? Or are there other options that are out there for you? And if you've listened to any of our other podcasts, you know that I am a huge proponent of finding the right fit, not just that it has to be this perfect or only an elite school that you're looking at. You need to find the right school for you. And that might mean that sometimes that means that a student is looking at going to a 2-year school and then they're looking to transfer. That might mean that if you are looking at a program where it's going to take longer than 4 years, maybe you need a master's degree. Maybe you're going to go to a school that's more in line with where your GPA is as of right now. And then you're going to look at transferring to a different school for your master's program that is more of what you are interested in or were hoping for. Or if you are only looking at your unweighted GPA, and then you find out that a school is going to look at your weighted GPA, that could make a big difference. And I just want you to be aware that that average GPA for college does not have to be something that I don't want you to feel completely devastated if your numbers aren't matching up. It's not something where you get to senior year and all of a sudden you say, okay, well, I'm never going to be able to do what I want to do. There are different options and opportunities that are out there. With that being said, if you are early on in your high school career, I would encourage you to do the best that you can in any of your classes to make sure that you are going to be able to have your courses, your grades, and that GPA be an accurate representation of who you are. If for some reason your scores aren't exactly where that school needs to be, you can still reach out to the school, let them know what your interests are. Maybe there's a reason that your grades or your GPA is a little bit lower. Maybe you dealt with an issue with your health or with mental health or the pandemic. That certainly made a big difference for a lot of people, and it was if that had a negative impact for you, it can be worth having a conversation to say, okay, listen, this is not an accurate representation of me. Or maybe as you're filling out your application, there's a place for you to say what other things you would like the college admissions committee to know about you before as they are making their decisions. And that can be a really good place for you to include information about what you're going through so that you know what steps you need to take next. So again, we want to make sure that we're aware of the difference between weighted and unweighted GPA. Know what the colleges are going to be looking for. You want to be able to know where you fall in line with the different majors or with a different GPA for your school and for your potential major. And then you want to make sure that you have a good solid list with some schools that might be a bit of an extension, with some of those schools that you're pretty sure that you would get into, and then some schools that are going to be a likelihood that you would get into those. So there are a lot of different things that you can do. Your GPA and the college that you go to, it's not about where you go. It's going to be more about how are you taking the time and the opportunity to learn while you're there. What are you getting involved in while you're at school? And you don't have to go to a specific elite college in order to be successful. If you listen to any of our previous episodes, like I said, that's something that I talk quite a bit about. If you have questions about this specifically and you would like to talk with me, I would love the opportunity to help you to be able to learn more about your situation and what you can do to be able to find the schools that are a good fit for you. You are welcome to email me at any time. My email is admin@confusedtoready.com. You also can find me on Facebook and Instagram at confusedtoready. And if there's anything else that I can help with, please let me know. Also, I would love if you would share our podcast with other people if this has been helpful to you, and leave us a review. And then you also can find more information in our checklist of how to get started with your college search. That website is confusedtoready.com/how to start. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care.